Hey everybody, it's Gail, and I am here with various pieces of a turban from the 1940s. The photo that I'm popping up right now is a photo from the pattern, and I don't have an unwatermarked photo, or I would have used that. And I have had times before where I've used watermark photos, but this is the largest watermark. So I'm just noting that. If you do any sort of pattern restoration, I do believe that you deserve credit for taking the time to digitize patterns and clean them up. It also makes it easier to remember where I get my patterns when I see a watermark, but when you put it down the only photos of the finished product, it's very annoying. So I have a longer rant, but I'm just going to stop there for now. Anyway, back to this. So what I have here, I have the three pieces of the turban that you make. So here we go. The first piece that you make is the actual body of the turban itself. And here it is. This is all done in, they call it a shell stitch. And it is. It's just an open shell. And the way this works is you start row 1, you work up, and then you do this decrease on the very last row to pull it back in, and then you come back to the starting point, you attach at the bottom of the chains, and then you work up the other direction, and that is your turban. And then over here I have this big piece here that is going to become the bow on the top of the turban. And what I'm going to do is, following the directions obviously, is you fold the two ends in, you sew them up, and then you use this little bow strap here to scrunch it up so that it takes on the shape of a bow. And then you attach it to the turban once the turban is sewn together. And the way that the turban is sewn together is that you sew the back here. So looking at it right now, this is the top, this is the bottom, and then the short sides are actually going to make up the back. So those are going to sew together, and then you sew this top piece together to make the turban itself. So when you're done, woohoo! Yeah, when you're done, you have something kind of like that. I think this might end up a little larger than what it shows in the photo, which is interesting because this is definitely made, like, my gauge is perfect. I am getting the exact gauge. So it's interesting that it's a little bit bigger than it's shown in the pattern, but styling is styling, you know? So there we go. It's going to look basically like that. The bow is going to go right here, and then as the pattern photo shows, you can wear the bow in a couple of different ways. And then it'll be done. So I have to go do some sewing. I've already steamed it. I just finished steaming it. And the goal of steaming it is not to get it flat. It's just, it loosens things up a little bit. Like, I tend to steam on stuff like this and then go through and do some very light tugging, because what that's going to do is just loosen things up if they're tight anywhere. That's the goal of steaming this project. And this is fingering weight yarn. It's a Hobbii yarn. I'll look it up. I know what it is. I just don't remember the exact name of it, but I will look it up and tell you when I come back to show you the finished project. I also used it to make this, which is a different video. And this is a fingering weight yarn. The pattern calls for Glossella Deluxe Gimp. So Gimp was size 3 crochet thread back in the day. It was called Gimp. It was called Cord. There's a few different names for it. But I used fingering weight yarn because it can substitute in quite often when you're working with size 3 thread. And I just thought it would be fun to try it with the fingering weight yarn because I had some extra. So yeah, I'm going to go get some sewing done, and I will be back with the finished project in a minute. Okay, we are back. I have a turban. It's very cute. Very happy with it. I forgot to mention in the first part of the video, this was made with Hobbii unicorn wool, which used for this. You're going to see it in at least one more project at some point. And it's a very nice wool. I like working with it. It's got polyamide or something. It's got it's mostly wool, but it's got a little bit of like a nylon-esque fiber to make it a little stretchier, make it a little more durable, that kind of thing. And so this entire doodad took about an entire skein of unicorns. So it's a one skein project, which is nice. Always good to have those. And the sewing process was very easy. I whipped stitched the back seam, and then I just worked a back and forth stitch across the top to get that seam. And then after I sewed the ends of the bow together, I made sure to cut off the yarn at an extra long length so that I could then wrap that length around the middle of the bow and pull real tight. Because it is a snug fit with the bow strap, even though I did that. And so I do recommend pulling it real tight before you start trying to put the bow strap on, because it'll just hold it together for you so you can finish the detail work. And then I just sewed it to the front. And, as you can see, it works. Woohoo! Yes, so this is, of course, style A. And style B looks a little different on me. I think partly because I don't have a huge amount of hair right now. And when you're dealing with the turban, the amount of hair you have can kind of differentiate how poofy the turban is. So this is style B, and in the pattern photo, it is the bow is like really sort of bent over, and it's definitely standing up a little more for me. And that may be because I'm using fingering weight yarn instead of size 3 crochet thread. It might be the difference between using cotton versus wool. I'm not sure. I got a real roadway thing going on right now with it, which is pretty great. Look it up, kids. And yeah, so I'm very happy with it. And I do want to share the pattern with you. I know that the seller I got it from doesn't have it on Etsy anymore. There's another place I can check to see if it's available through them still. I don't love the watermarks. I know I bitched about that already, but took the time to digitize this old pattern. And that's the only reason I have a copy of it. And so if I can send you to that person's store to buy a copy, I will. I can't find copies of it anywhere else. I went looking for an unwatermarked copy just for the photo itself, and didn't find anybody else selling it. Or I went through a bunch of like 1940s turbans and snoods list. I didn't find it in any of those. So if I can find it for sale from that seller, I will link to that seller. If I can't, I'm going to go ahead and make it available through a link to my website, because I really appreciate people who take the time to make these patterns digital so that they're easier to archive, easier to find copies of, etc. But if it is not available in any other source that I can find, there's no copyright infringement going on if I post it up for free, even if someone else did the formatting. Reformatting a pattern does not give you any copyright claim to said pattern. And so I feel fine if I cannot find it in any other way to just make it available to you for free through my website. That's a personal thing. Do it that way you will. Yeah, so it's a great little pattern. It's very comfy. I've had it on for a couple of hours, honestly. I'm going to go walk the dog in it in a few minutes. And, it's very classic style, which is always nice to have around. We know I love a good classic style. And I think that's it on this one. Yeah, no mistakes in the pattern that I found, so no errata, nothing like that. I think this one's good to go. So as always, if you enjoy what I do here, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, all of that fun stuff, and I will see you when I see you.